All right.
All right, we got Trevor May on the show, and he just told me the house he lives in was previously inhabited, and just all this stuff you see is just somebody else's. What?
Yeah, there's like an Xbox 360 back there, a bunch of games. No clue whose it is or what's on it.
So are we?
That's my life, man. I just make do with what I have.
Is this like fully? Do they kind of sell this as like fully? Or are we just squatting? Yeah.
Yeah. This doesn't exist for rentals in New York City, man. Everything's not furnished, so it's like.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about the process of trying to get a home. And is this the new spot, or you're moving in somewhere?
No, we rent during the season. I mean, we made a rule when I first me and my wife first got together, like when we were gonna live together, that if I didn't sign a deal for more like 3 years, like we just weren't gonna buy where we were. Like it just wasn't going to be worth it. It's going to be a pain to sell later. If it wasn't a city like we would like to spend time in the, or we would spend a lot of time in past playing there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that opportunity has not presented itself yet. So that house,
not yet. We'll get there.
The house we bought was in Seattle, where I'm from.
Oh, okay.
Which is a nightmare of a market as well.
Dude, I mean, I don't know about Seattle. I'm sure it's kind of similar everywhere right now. I'm going through the process. It is a motherfucker. Oh my God.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's crazy I'm fairly well like educated on why everything is like it is. I mean, like loan rates still paying that much over. It's still worth getting one at these rates.
I know.
So I'm jealous get why everyone's trying to buy right now.
Our boy Clem is nice and settled up north of the wall in Westchester. Or where you're not even in Westchester. What's above Westchester, Clem?
It's Putnam. The next town is Putnam County. I'm in the fucking middle of nowhere. It takes me a while to see Trevor live. I have to drive down the city field, but I will be I could have made a shitload of money on this house just selling it after we got it 9 years ago. But then I'd have to then buy another house. Yeah. So it's like, no, just fucking bury me in this thing. I'm done.
All right, let's talk a little baseball, man. First of all, you're our first guest from this latest Mets team, which is like capturing everybody's hearts. So thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
Great weekend. Minus, you can't win every game, but taking 2 out of 3. From what is, arguably the best young team in baseball right now. Just a monster win. And it's been, I can't tell. And so maybe you can answer this, having been a baseball fan and been around yourself now in the league. Like this team feels extra dramatic to me. Like the storylines that have happened on and off the field, the wins, the losses, the injuries, the names, the people stepping up, Steve Cohen, Lindor, all this shit to me. Covering it as a fan and a podcaster has been like, there is no shortage of headlines and news. But I don't know, is it that way? Does every fan base feel that way? Or is there something extra going on with the Mets here this year?
I know I've only been here for 1 year, but from everything I've heard, I think that following this team is just always dramatic. It's just a lot of times, a lot of times it's just, there's just so much of the negative way that it seems. It just seems a lot. This seems a lot better. But yeah, no, everything's a story here, man. It's New York. Like everything's gonna be talked about and picked at and seen if there's like some hidden behind the scenes. Like it's like we're planning our highlight video for after the season, like as we're going. Like, oh, that's gonna go in the highlight video.
Right, that's in the DVD. That's chapter 2 of the book. Yeah,
and to be honest, before and after Mets games, it's like only highlight videos from previous seasons. So I totally get why people think that way on SNY. So like I'm always like this, trying to understand where people are coming from, like really. And so when I got here, I was like, okay, there's that, and then there's the game, and so like this is just the way it's going to be, microscope. But
have you
Clubhouse, it's on purpose. Like
have you got the minds of Mets fans yet? Do you feel like you have a good grip on what you're dealing with? Because especially, I know you're active on Twitter and you're in the scene with your vlogs and streaming and Twitch and whatnot. So you're pretty plugged in. Yeah. I would imagine Mets Twitter and the social media aspect of this fan base is also crazy usual. So do you feel like you've got a hold on what you're dealing with?
Yeah, I think I got a good idea of how it's gonna like work. I've had a couple clunkers that had some opportunities for the Gremlins to come out, and I got some pretty good I got some good strategies for handle. Those people that like there is no positive side to them. They're not there for that. They're there for no matter what happens, they're going to come out with the mean stuff and they're waiting for their opportunity. You can tell.
We work with them.
We work with them.
Hey, Frank is a guy I had a back and forth with. It actually turned out to be super wholesome at the end, and people love that. But I tried to say people, I'm like, you guys, the fact that Frank exists and that he's out there and he's talking about the team all the time, and whether or not it's negative or not, like as long as he's talking about the team and like has people that are with him, at least people are watching the games. Like I've been places where we weren't very good and no one watched us, and that was even worse.
Yeah, I guess if you want to put the bar on the fucking floor for fan behavior, you could say that.
I'm just a positive guy, man. That's what it is.
Well, that's
hats off to Frank.
There's two ways to be. What's funny is I used to be the negative guy, and then two things happened. One, we got new ownership, and this team, you guys are good and you're likable. And in the past, as a Mets fan, between ownership and some of the teams we trotted out there was no reason to be positive. And I'm not one of those guys who's just always going to cheer on the team if, there's not a real reason to cheer for them. So this team and this new regime has been worthy of that and really deserves the respect and the positivity. And then also Frank the Tank came into my life and I realized just how much sometimes it's silly to just be overwhelmingly always negative. So there's three, there's Tank on one side, just forever negative. I'm in the middle where it's like I'm newly optimistic, and then there's Clem, who he's got you guys penned in at 96 wins this year and is just always the positive guy. So there's different hats to wear in this fan base, and I think we've all got our reasons to do so. Though, do players kind of understand that, or is it just like if a fan's an asshole, you guys are like, well, then fuck you?
I mean, to be honest, that's the easy. Like, I talk to him. I talk to guys. We talk about this constantly. I don't know why. It is a big part of my life. You pointed that out earlier. So like, it's something that I notice. I notice funny things on Twitter all the time, or like feuds that are going on. I just notice it. I know about it, and so most guys are just like, man, it's just I don't have the brain power to like determine each person whether or not they're salvageable or if they're not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not my job, so I'm just gonna be like, I don't care and just move on. I just don't care. And me, on the other hand, I feel it's like it's my sacred duty to find those people that are like, hey man, maybe if you just had a little bit of perspective, you'd come around. And to be honest, I've gotten about a dozen. I've gotten down to people like, hey, you know what? My bad, man. Like, yeah, I shouldn't be like, I didn't know that this was going on. And I'm like, I'm a dude. I'm a guy. I'm a human being, like going to the grocery store and trying to like go to sleep at night, stressed as hell, just like you are, right? Mm-hmm. Except I have Twitter yelling at me also. And a lot of people like go, oh, like yeah. And then the wins have helped. I mean, coming back and like bouncing back in the way that guys are like stepping up, and especially with all like the guys we had who weren't even in the organization before, who are here now, who are contributing.
Crazy.
Or like in big spots. It's been insane, and people like that's that kind of underdog thing going on too, and it's really easy to get behind a team that's like kind of back against the wall that's still getting the job done.
And like you said, you're seeing all that stuff on Twitter, you're online and all that stuff, and out of all the players in basically every sport, I think a guy that's in the bullpen has to have like the shortest memory, or kind of just have like that chill mentality, because everyone's gonna fuck up, Even Mo Rivera blew saves, right? The fucking World Series,
some big ones.
Yeah, exactly. So
a lot of big ones. People forget that. A lot of big ones.
Yeah. Well, when you have as many opportunities as the guy had, you're going to blow some.
I suppose so. Yeah.
And I just realized Trevor hasn't had his first taste of the Subway Series. It's when everyone gets crazy, because we have, the asshole neighbors are going to be coming into our house.
Not only that, what is it? No, it's like September 11th and July 4th.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so fun.
20th anniversary of 9/11 with the Subway Series going on is going to be goosebumps for like the beginning, and then an all-out war as soon as we're like, okay, pageantry's over, let's get back to fucking hating each other. It's going to be an absolute scene, man. But yeah, I mean, as Clem was saying, in the bullpen, you got to have that throw out yesterday, good or bad, and just on to the next one. We as Mets fans have been tortured by bullpens. It is like the bane of our existence. So I feel like we are truly tuned in to closers and setup men, and especially the way that the game has evolved with bullpens. So unfortunately for you, or fortunately, it depends on the day, Mets fans are going to be really focused on trying to get through 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like it is, and we're battered and we're scarred. And I think sometimes that's why the negativity comes out. So I apologize for that if we ever do that, but it is really something that Mets fans just can't. It's our, it's our bugaboo. It's our Achilles heel.
Yeah. Recently, the guys, I mean, they're all still here. Like everyone who's been in the pen for the last 3 years is still in the pen with me.
Yeah.
And like me and Jacob Barnes are the only two like additions. Everyone else has been here the whole time, right? And so they can all speak to it, and it is a snowball. Just like Stroh has been talking a lot about feeding off Jake and how Ty and him, it's just all about commanding the zone and just hitting your spots over and over again with the best stuff you have that day. And they fall because Jake does that so well. That and having the best stuff in the history of baseball too helps. So he does both of those things, which means he's translating into what he's doing. But they're just like, we don't have the stuff, but we can command like he can. That's one thing we can do, and they've been throwing really well. So we're trying to feed off each other the same way. Like guy takes care of it in the 7th, and then we take care of it in the 8th, and we take care of it in the 9th. And Shug is feeding off how the 8th goes, who's feeding off the 7th goes, and that's why you're seeing like guys, especially like here's a prime example. There was a game in and I'm in this one, so I get to talk about it. That game against the Marlins, and it was a tie game where we're battling, and we had a couple things happen where we could have scored runs earlier, and like I don't know, I think there was a pick off at third or some weird plays that like we weren't able to get the runs, and we were tied in the 8th. And I went, and for whatever reason, I thought I was making good pitch after good pitch and hitting spot, just barely missing off the plate, and guys were battling me. They just kept taking the close pitches and making me throw the ball like in the middle of the zone. And so I got out of that inning with the big strikeout of Cooper, and I was fired up. And the other guys, like Fama, got in just a little bit of trouble, and then he got fired up, and then Shug went out and punched out the side, and he got fired. So we all just we saw each guy before like get in a big spot, get out of the spot, and we ended up winning that game in extras with Khalil Lee getting his first hit of the year, and Fargas getting his almost hitting in the Parker, and I think Mason Williams. Was Mason Williams even there? I don't know. Someone else. Like there was it was Jake Hager. So 2 first hits in the major league career, and then our seventh center fielder hitting it almost in the Parker to take the lead. Like that was just in the microcosm of exactly what we've been doing all year. But us out in the pen, like Fama's tons of saves in his career. He knows how to get the job done. Shug is an elite. Everyone knows who they are, and if we pitch in our potential and do it all at the same time, then
you're like
going deep.
You're like a team within the team, really. I feel like you guys
That's how bullpens work. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're out there, kind of separate in a way, and you're also asked to do, some of the most ridiculous shit. It's like, hey man, bases loaded, nobody out. Sorry, here's the ball.
And then you do it, and you're like, let's go. And then so the guy comes in, he's like, hey, we got the momentum now. And honestly, in Minnesota, in what is this? In 18, to be honest, we weren't very good in 18, and we barely made the wild card in 17, and we were terrible in 16. So we were okay, we got to figure this out. We got a new pitching coach and a bunch of guys who were already there. We developed into a bullpen that was very much like that. We had Tyler Duffy, we had me, we had Taylor Rogers. We added a couple guys, Sergio Romo, and Tyler Clippard, in 20. And that was just names wise. Most probably you guys are like, ooh, right? But there was a point where we were the second or third best bullpen in the American League for 4 months, and no one knew that. But we had developed into it in that same way.
It's very much one of those, it's minus the Marianos and a couple other names here and there. It's always going to be, a journeyman mixed with a couple of call-ups and a few guys trying to make their way. And every year, except I guess in this case, there are a lot of familiar faces, but it does feel like you got to throw it against the wall and see what works. Is that extra pressure where it's you got a pretty short leash sometimes? You go out there and you blow a few opportunities in a row and, maybe they're handing the ball to somebody else, or is that something you just don't even try to think about?
Well, I would act like that's not something to think about, but that's currently happening with me. So, yeah, I do think about it, but no, it's something that it's just kind of the ebb and flow of how it works, right? The best bullpens in ever, like you can ever like account for, like I know this is not a good team to bring up against, but I played against them all this season. The 15 Royals bullpen.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it.
We played them 19 times in 15. I had to watch Luke Hoshaver come in every 6th inning and then be like, well, we lose.
The game's over. Yeah.
And as soon as you got to Wade, it was like, not only do we lose, no one is getting on base. And probably all 6 of you are striking out. And they did. But they had not only that, then they had like Herrera, and then I think the lefty Valdez, and then there was another. So they had 6 guys that could do those 4 roles. Right, so it wasn't just like, oh, those guys are down, we might have a chance tonight. They just brought the other guys in who also had a 1.5 ERA. So that is the deal. Like you have the two, 3 young guys who only have like are before ARB who are like getting those outs. Then you got the other guys, like if they're struggling, they can just slot the 6th inning guy into the 8th inning guy for a little bit and let him get back on track. Maybe get him a little bit lower, leverage for just a couple, just to get back on track. Maybe get some rest. That's also important. And then it's back to the races. I mean,
that's where you guys have been so screwed. So yeah, maybe struggling right now, but you had a stretch where you were lights out, and I feel like a lot of it is based on rest and like scheduling almost in a way. And when you have the double headers and when you have a lot of high leverage situations and whatnot, it's like, I've seen you struggle a couple times, and it's like I'm not gonna put it on him. He's out there for like the 3rd day in a row, or he's thrown this many pitches. Like it's just not. At some point, it kind of becomes like unrealistic to have any expectations going through what this team has gone through in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to sharpness, right? The more you throw, and there's extenuating circumstances I think that are here that aren't in other cities either. We tend to get the Sunday night games a lot. And where A-Rod gets to explain how good we are, and then we get we get those games a lot. Or we had the night game travel day to the West Coast. Like how we let's maximize the jet lag here. Let's make it as hard as possible to adjust the bodies so that they feel like they are pitching at 11 p.m. When it's actually 8. Right, like that's that kind of stuff. Like where you're lagging for 2-3 days trying to get your rhythm back. We have another one of those when we go back to the West Coast again, which is just now we know about it. We're like, great, but you can plan for it as best you can. So like, there's that kind of thing that like stuff people don't even think about that affects like your ability to like be fresh or feel sharp. So there's that kind of things is stuff that I haven't had to worry about being in the Central too as much, or even being in Sunday. We did Sunday Night Baseball one time in 6 years, so that was last year. So I mean, it's just something new, and it's there's more travel. It's a little bit longer. It's New York City. It's harder to get to the airport. It takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit longer to get into the airport because there's more security. It takes a little bit longer to get on the plane. It all kind of compounds. It's just not as easy as it felt before. So but like you said, and we're really focused on getting guys rest too, like so that they are sharp. So like last night, for example, like Lugo's coming off an injury. He's only thrown 5 times this year. Like you can't throw him 3 times in a row right at the beginning of this stretch, like you said. So you got to kind of piece it together. But the nice thing is, if you kind of piece it together and it works out, all those guys are confident. So now you have 6 guys that can throw in any situation, and that's one of the best teams, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And that's something that Hef knows. Like that's he's like, if all of these guys are going and at least have been put into situations where they had to step up a little bit and reach down deep, that's the best bullpens do, as opposed to having like 3 guys that you lean on all year, and then in the playoffs one of those 3 guys gets hurt, and then you have a guy who hasn't really had to do much throwing the 7th inning, and you're just like so this is the best way to manage it, and sometimes it's just not going to work out, but overall you'll have a lot of confident guys on the bullpen getting the job.
Is it tough going into the series too, where like he's giving you guys a plan of like, this is probably the situation you're going to get put in, and then you have like a starter implode, and next thing you know, it's like the 3rd inning, and now you're taxing everybody? Like, do you feel like there's certain games where you're trying to like not punt it to the next guy, but you're like, Gesellman, you're going to have to throw 4 innings today because it is what it is, and we need to get through this game?
Yeah, like we all kind of just know. And you kind of predict, like, for example, you're like, with Jake, Salman tells me every time, he's like, I'm probably just going to take a nap. Like, it's just not right now. It's just not my role. So there's we know what guys who've been scuffling a little bit and not going as deep into games, and then they improve, and then someone else scuffles for a little, because that's just how it works. Not at all. Let's look at the last time you saw all 5 guys in a rotation just throwing at the top of their game at the same time. I mean, maybe when the Indians won 21 in a row, maybe that was when, but like that's what happens. You win 20 games in a row.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen very much. And so there's always like somewhere to predict. But for example, for me, like we get up 2-0 in the third, and this is what it was up until fairly recently. I would just be like, my body would just start injecting my adrenaline in my veins, and then I'd be like, all right, let's start projecting to where 7th, 8th, maybe. Or if Suge's down, maybe splitting the 9th or having to throw earlier in the game. I did that against the Braves once, where they're like, we're going to go to you earlier to face the middle lineup. Instead of the 6th instead of the 8th. Those kind of things, you got to project them and kind of know. But we kind of, like you said, G was a perfect example. Like he knows that he needs to be on red alert for certain situations, and when those pass, that he can then project who the next guy might be. And there's maybe like, I'll be honest, Drew might be the most kind of like up in the air most of the time. He's just like, it's a little bit up in the air. I might throw in a little bit of leverage, but maybe I'm not quite certain yet. But other than that, everyone else is pretty locked in on where they might be used, which is good. You have a general idea what your role is. That's really good for a bullpen.
And kind of like we were saying with, being on the Mets now and kind of the baseball gods. I mean, look at this season. Your season starts, first series gone, COVID, right? Then we had rainouts, we had snowouts. The whole entire schedule is all is a clusterfuck right now. And then you have now this gauntlet where we're calling, everyone's saying June swoon because that's what the Mets have done, because we're a bunch of chicken littles who thinks the sky's falling the minute we lose a game after taking the first 2 against, like Kyle said, one of the best young teams in baseball. Do bullpens, like, you guys look at the schedule and be like, all right, no off days for 2 weeks here. We're going to try to just be by the end of this. If we can get to the end of this and get that off day, we're going to be running on fumes. The fans are going to be pissed at us because inevitably you're going to get a day like yesterday where some certain guys are unavailable and stuff like that. Do you guys kind of see that and go, all right, we just have to get through these 2 weeks. The starters can help us out as much as possible. But like you said, that's just not going to happen. Where all 5 guys are going to come out sharp and throw 7 innings every single game.
Yeah, very much. It's just to hang with them. I mean, like I said, with the travel, same thing. Just guys, find a way. Then the nice thing is, in general, overall, all 5 have generally gone, like, all their max, all the longest they've gone in the game. It's probably longer than I ever had in Minnesota generally, average wise. So like they're getting into the 7th. At least 3 of the guys are getting in the 7th every single time they pitch, which is incredible. And a guy like Jake, excuse me. A guy like Jake, like if Jake's got 80 pitches and going into the 8th inning, like who's our best setup guy? Jake. Who's the best closer on? Who's the best closer on the team? Jake. So like, let's just let Jake pitch as long as Jake can pitch, because as soon as like they go, all right, put May in the game, they're like, oh, nice, a guy that throws exactly the same stuff as Jake except 5 miles an hour slower. Let's take it. I throw 97 miles an hour, but when I go out there, like, yeah, this guy's average. Like. It sucks. It sucks pitching behind him.
But like, and what's like the mood on a daily basis there during a Jake start? Because listen, we're fans. We've seen Jake grow from like, I think we all were like, oh, this guy's gonna be a good pitcher, to like now it's like this guy is probably the best pitcher I'm ever gonna see in my life. Like, what do you guys do? Do you just laugh out there? Like, it's mind boggling shit every single start.
I literally come walking. So I just get a shower in right before the game, and I come walking out, and usually it's like right when it's the first batter of the game's ending, and it's a punch out. So I just look up and go, seriously, here we go. And then I walk, or it'll be like a slider, and I'll just swing at it like it was a heater, and I'm like, he's right on it. Here we go. He's back. He's a guy like Tommy Pham swinging like he did at the first pitch, because that guy just doesn't swing and miss. Like he's one of the best guys at commanding the zone and not missing. And Jake just blew a heater by him and then threw him a changeup that he just was never even going to think about.
I mean, when you're throwing a 95 mile an hour slider, it's like, I mean, what? Yeah, what? How are you supposed to even?
Well, you even saw how Tatis reacted. He was like,
"Yeah, like this is."
I'm not. And that's Tatis. I'm probably going to try to get the next guy.
Well, that's leading into the series. Yeah. I was like, every year we do this. We look at the best offensive teams in the game, and we're like, oh, I wonder how Jake's going to perform against them. And then he throws the first inning, and you're like, the same as every other team. It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
it's
matter. Where he is.
Yeah,
he's here, and everyone else is here, including myself.
Who is Jake like boys with? There's someone that he like. I feel like if my perception, I think a lot of fans almost think of him just how you like on a playing level, but also just like I think of him as like he just exists on his own on this team. But does he mix it up? Is there like a little crew that he rolls with? Is it pitchers, relievers, or is he just, I'm above all of you guys?
No, his locker's actually on like a rising deck. He's gonna walk up the stairs and look down on all of us.
The Iron Throne. He sits on an Iron Throne.
And he actually doesn't have to put on his jersey. It just puts itself on. It's all about like locker room location. So he's in the corner. He's with KK, our head clubhouse guy's office right there. So it's like him and Conforto and Peterson's kind of there crossed and Nimmo. Like all those guys are sitting in a circle usually, loud talking, so I can just like sneak into their conversation. If they're talking about Bitcoin, I'm like, "Oh, you guys want to actually learn how it works?" Stuff like that. So, but he's really chill, man. Like it's just a lot of people are like, "Hey, dude, like what's Jake? Like what are you getting from Jake?" I'm like, guys. Like if you watch him pitch, he didn't like figure out an equation we all don't know. He just naturally has better stuff. So he just pitches in columns on the sides of the plate, and he just goes fastballs up, slider, and then fastball up, changeup. And he just doesn't miss spots. He never misses over the middle of the plate ever. That's it. And he's just really good at doing that.
That's not it. That's not it. Because then he steps up to the plate. And he gets like a 2-run base knock.
And then of course there's the whole like baseball gods just saying you're the one, and so he always comes up in a big spot, obviously. Of course
always. Yeah,
Jake's up, guys in second and third, and it's a tie game in the fifth. What's gonna happen? He's gonna shoot one in the gap and then score the 2 runs, and then he gets his RBIs. Then everyone's like, why can't anyone do anything but Jake? And then everyone's like, oh, I gotta be good today. Right. Jake pitched.
I was going to ask that. Like right now, times are good. The tides have turned a little bit. His last few starts have gone well, but there's been a lot of stretches, even well before this year, where Jake starts get wasted, run support, or the bullpen or whatever. When those moments happen, is that do you feel extra bad? Is there added pressure? Like, dude, we fucking have to make this lead stand up for Jake. We got to get him the win. And when it doesn't happen, is it hurt extra, or is it just part of like, we all know that's part of the game and no one's worried about those stats and all that kind of stuff?
It hurts a little bit extra. I'd say, like I said, being a reliever that goes directly in after him. So there's a standard, right? And then the other team, so it's all momentum too. So the other team's like, this dude's like, this is 100 out of 100. Like the hardest boss there is. And so they're literally waiting. It was like a World Series. Blake Snell came out. They were like, thank God. They didn't care who was coming in. They were just like, that guy's killing us. And we want someone else. So as soon as you see someone else, that the confidence boosts immediately, no matter who it is. So there is an element of that. And playing at his standard, at his level, isn't possible for us. It's not. Like we can't continue that by will. We have to like we've talked about it. Lugo's the guy who's like, I'll pitch after Jake. I'll just go throw something Jake doesn't have. I can do that. I'll throw 2 seams and curveballs only. And Loopy is like, here we go, lefty, sankers, cutters, changeups. Let's get it. I'll go. And I'm like, okay, you guys got it. Go for it. Right? There's that kind of stuff, and then there's position. Like we have guys who play on emotion too. Pete Alonso's a big guy who if you cheer him on, man, he just absorbs it, right? And he wants to get the big. But again, that gets you start to chase stuff a little bit out of the zone, so you put a little bit more pressure on stuff. And we got some guys that like really feed off the crowd. And when Jake starts, the crowd's just louder. Jake's. It's like the game means more that day. And there's just a little bit of added pressure I think that we might put on ourselves at times. And so all those things combined just make it just like it's things that you just naturally go, okay, Jake just 7 shutty, punched out 31, and I need to punch out the side. When you don't, you just need to go. Right. You just need to go do what you do and get ahead of guys and do the same thing. Just stay on the edges of the zones and hit your spots and work through your process. And there's just been a little bit of getting out of that. I think on his days, it's just there's the standard for that game is a little higher, and that's no one's fault. It's just you don't need to play there. And some guys feel like they do, and that'll translate into maybe swinging at a pitch that you didn't want to swing, you wouldn't normally swing at, or trying to be too fine on the mound when you don't need to be that fine.
I feel like it's also probably the opposing guy who's starting against Jake is like, all right, I can't fuck up once. This is the catcher, the pitcher, the starter, and then it looks our offense doesn't do shit because that guy is as focused in because he knows if he makes one mistake, that's the game, basically 1-0 out. So,
how often would you say? And this is just a question for you guys. How often would you say like you get a 2-run lead? Like in the third, you put up 2 spot on him, and then it stays there until the Jake's done pitching because the other guy's like, "Well, I'm already behind, and we're not coming back." So it's not just out there just like throwing, right? They're comfortable because they know that the score's not going to change. Like what has happened is probably where it's going to stay, and all they needed to go like there's no like hanging with them anymore. You're already, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. They're like, I have to play at that standard, then they don't because they can't, and
because nobody can.
Then they relax. And then when get the last 3-4 scoreless,
which is funny, right? It's like, if you could just harness that and pitch that way always, you'd be great. But you can only do it. Only guys like Jake can bring that out in the opposition and his teammates. And when they, like I said, things have been pretty good recently. But when there was that stretch where he wasn't getting many decisions because of it, was there ever a sign of frustration from him or anything? Does he ever react? No. He's the man. He's best.
Very, very much locked in on what his job is, and he's a very confident guy. But it's very like muted. Like it's very like you can tell. Like,
do you think that's from him coming as being a shortstop, where like he wasn't ever like the guy, and like now he's just got all this success, and he's just like, well, this is just all.
I just think he's a
found money
dude, man.
Yeah.
Like there's no and I played with Joe Mauer. He's the same. Joe was hey, I hope no one recognizes me ever, which was impossible because he's like the god of the Twin Cities. He's very, very laid back. He just wants to wakeboard and like, develop his property and hang out with his kids and just enjoy himself when he's not playing. But there was one funny thing where where were we? We were in Atlanta, and the broadcasters for the other team were like, Jake DeGrom is this. So they just listed. They talked about it for 5 minutes, and then Loop was sitting there, and I was kind of standing there too because it was like the first inning of the game. We hadn't gone out yet, and he was like, "He's the great base pitcher on the planet." And then Loop looked over at him, and then Jake looked back and went, "Just gave him a shrug." Like,
the MJ shrug.
Like, we know.
Oh my
God. It was funny. That was the first ever confirmation that he hears that stuff I've ever seen.
Knows.
So it was really, really, really funny. But like, think about it. Think about how many people, like, if they were constantly being bombarded with this positive praise, like how hard it would be to not like create this version of yourself in your head that you feel like you have to live up to.
He has every right.
Amazingly. He's amazing.
He would have every right. Like if you told me he was like the cockiest asshole in the world, I'd be like, well, yeah. I mean, what do you expect? How could he not be? The fact that he stays calm is unbelievable. Also, another guy who's staying calm on the other end under the spectrum is Francisco Lindor, who he's been turning it on recently, and I have been beating this drum for everybody hating on him that come summertime, they're going to feel so goddamn stupid. But there is no denying that it has been – not just a slump, but a all-out big-time struggle for a guy of his caliber. Yet I still, we all see him smiling. He's still, the leather hasn't slowed down at all. Behind closed doors, has he ever shown some frustration? Has he ever just been like, what the fuck is going on? Goes about his game too.
He just goes about his game. I maybe if I really, really tried to like watch, I would see maybe a little bit like, come on, man. Like, but other than that, like, seriously, the dude is when we win, he is running our like post game meeting where we're shouting at the guys that play the game. He's the guy who, when we have an important like an announcement to make, so someone going through health problems or someone with a loss in the family or something, he's the guy who's leading the charge on that and like making sure we're all aware of it. Anything going on with us, calling meetings and getting guys going and getting the team and managing the culture and just building something. That's something that, as I understand it, because I haven't been here in the past before this, that it wasn't always there. But I've been on teams where it wasn't, and it was not fun to go into the field every day, and he keeps it fun even when things aren't going the best or we're not playing as well as we should be, which we all believe we should be 50 in however many games are left right now. But we understand that's not the way it is. We got a lot of veterans. I said this when I signed. I was like, I expect to be on. I go to the field expecting to win that night. I've been on those teams recently. That was our culture. He came from the Indians, which despite having not a lot of offense usually and really good pitching, they win and they're always there at the end, and they sucked to play against at the end of the year and try to bury in the division. They went to the World Series in 2016. He's been on a very good team every year, no matter who was on it. Cookie came from that same thing. He's been part of that the whole time. McCann has been on very good teams the last 2 years and watched the team culture change from a probably a division winning team. The White Sox are going to win it this year. And he expects to win. And he was on the Detroit teams when he was a rookie with Price and Scherzer and all those guys. So he's been on winning teams. So we all expect to win. We all came, and I feel like Frankie led it, but we all kind of saw what he was doing, and we know what that looks like, and we tried to contribute in our own ways because we just expect to win. Everyone expects to win when we walk into the field every single day, and that is how you do what we're doing.
Is Francisco would you call him like the leader of that team? Is he the leader in the clubhouse? Because I know he's
the vocal leader.
Well. He's the what?
I would say vocal leader. You got to have like a guy who leads silently by their performance.
Yeah,
best pitcher in the world.
Best pitcher in the world. And then we got guys who lead vocally. It's probably Stroh and Lindor, but Lindor's probably the more of like the inner group, and then Stroh's more of the maybe public facing leader. Like he's not afraid to, things are going good, things are going bad, to continue his like engaging personality, because I'm the same way. Actually, to be honest, I'm taking his lead on that a lot. Just like good, bad, or indifferent. Don't just stop being available.
Right.
Because at the end, like, I might never make an all-star team, and I'm definitely not going to the Hall of Fame. So who gives a shit? Like just be you and enjoy yourself, and you're not going to be a baseball player forever. So like, just go out and do it. And so, like those are the kind of the two, I don't know, I guess the two guys who are more vocal.
That's really the makeup you need, though, right? Because you don't want everybody with like the megaphone that's beating their chest in the clubhouse, and then it's just everybody's talking over each other. Like if you know the role of the clubhouse and everyone's in on it, which by the way, it seems like Dom Smith is just like a mix of everything, because anytime he succeeds, everybody in the dugout's going nuts. So where would you say he falls into that?
Oh, Dom's just vibe, man. He just like, okay, so I throw Dom and I throw Ty together. They're just kind of like, they're very chill, like very chill.
Yeah.
Super laid back and chill. Let's do our job. Let's get like kind of like swag, just like Dom's swing. Like he swung a miss last night, kind of just a little bit.
Where like, what was your perception of
my perspective of what?
Sorry, the fucking Zoom got all fucked up.
You're good.
The raccoon squirrel situation. It captivated the city for a couple days. It was an absolute it was like a tabloid mixed with it was a whole shit show. It was very funny. I feel like the media got bent out of shape, and some of the old school guys weren't liking it. But the whole thing was a scene. What was your perception of that whole thing?
Well, first of all, when it happened, no idea what's going on. Our bullpen is set up horribly. I have no idea. Like we're in like a long hallway where no one can even see the game. So I'm like, someone ran inside. I don't know. I guess I'll read about it in paper tomorrow. I don't know.
Right.
I think those two guys decided to handle it the way they handle it, which is hilarious. We still don't know to this day. The only thing that was pretty funny for everyone's like, oh great, now we got to hear about these. Like now we're gonna see like stuff record. Like we were just laughing about how like the staff at Citi Field was gonna turn it into some way to like give you guys stuffed animals or something.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I think McNeil hit a homer later, and they had like a raccoon running around the.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, guys! This is something we actually want to get past. And it honestly, it wasn't like again, in our eyes, we're just like it's not that big of a deal. And it just, but again, them running with it was almost like mission accomplished. And we I trust me, I'm a big guy on like trolling people a little bit, getting them riled up, and be like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't worry. Like the whole thing about sticky stuff, same shit. So that whole thing was a little bit of a catalyst, and sometimes the guys, stuff happens. You gotta just like be like, hey, we good? And everyone's like, yeah, we're all right. Move on. Let's win tomorrow, and then we did.
Was it Francisco's idea to make up the raccoon story?
I honestly do not know. But just knowing Frankie, it's probably more likely that it was him. Probably. Yeah. But and those guys, especially middle of the guys in the middle of your infield are the leaders of your defense. So again, he's just smart, man, and he sees like this could go in several different ways. Let's control it, and let's make sure that we benefit at the end of the day and makes us a better team. And I think he did it masterfully.
I mean, even when he was struggling with the bat, he still had the glove in the field. And I'm telling you, like you said, Familia, I think last year Familia kind of got back on track. I call him, he lost the way. We call him Skinny Familia. We believe in Skinny Familia. We love him. But whenever Lindor's out there and he goes and he talks to Jairus, I'm like, he's settling him down. And then he always comes through. And I'm like, that's the exact kind of guy we need there in the 100%. Middle, because he makes me feel good when he goes to the mat. And you kind of said this with, in terms of the City Field stuff with the raccoon and whatnot. I'm telling you, and I think a good part of it was the nerves, maybe in the new city and the balls with the different seams. I read about that. But Edwin Diaz and that music has changed that man. And now you're kind of seeing City Field is getting down to it. And I don't know how much, I know you're a Mariners fan, so you probably know what he was back in Seattle, what his first season was like here, and kind of the fan base's reaction to it. You can imagine what his mentions were like, in 2019. Yeah. But that way, that song has just transformed everything. And having him come in for that 4-out save after we're, waiting for Jake News with his MRI. And I said, I am completely confident Edwin Diaz is going to get us, into the W here after all the stuff we were dealing with Jake, which is basically a complete 180 from how we felt 2 seasons ago. That song is electric, by the way. I don't know what the bullpen feels about that song, but we heard it. Tim Healy said it was going to be a big hit last year, and we were hoping he was going to keep it. I don't know why he didn't keep it in 19, because I feel like he would have at least had a little bit of a runway with us just based on how good that song is. But I do think that weird stuff like that matters with especially a bullpen.
Yeah. What did Trevor? You came out to what? You were playing the Sopranos music, right?
No, I'm Welcome Home by Cohen.
Is that something you guys like? You give thoughts to, and you like.
I'm picking everyone's songs, man. I've always been dude. This is my number one thing. When I went to games as a kid, man, I loved it. One closers ran out, and you're not gonna probably like this too much, but you guys didn't see this. Mark Melanson comes out in San Diego like he's in the WWE. Literally, he comes out to Thunderstruck. He throws pitches. He times it to the first Thunderstruck, and he literally comes out to the door. It's the exact time every time. And they turn off all the lights, and the lightning is playing on all the screens, and he's still throwing in the pen. Like he times it. And I've heard. I think I read somewhere, and I don't quote me on this. I don't actually know for certain, but I do believe he is a little bit of a wrestling fan. So I think that is like part of it. But like I was like, this is how closers are supposed to come out. This is how they did in the '90s. Everybody did, right? Yeah. Eddie Gordado came out to Thunderstruck also. And he's one of my favorite. He was also my bullpen coach for a bit, and he came out to Thunderstruck in Seattle, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So for a long time in Minnesota, I didn't have a song. I wasn't the closer, and I was like, play my song, please. And the problem is, especially in bigger markets like this, like in the 8th, it's like go down and get your garlic fries at the in the last 30 seconds, like bam and I'm like. I just want I've already thrown 5 pitches and then they start playing my song. I hate that. But the one save I got to do when the guitar riff drops in my song, I timed it and ran out of the thing at the exact time. And then Cherv times it for the first like the first the trumpet melody to start, and then he times it. He does it on purpose, and it's for effect. And I think that song is put together as a big fan of EDM myself, and I'm very, very well acquainted with the song Narcos by Timmy Trumpet. Trust me. I know all about it. I've known about it for a long time, and I used to play it live. It's got that effect on purpose, and it's just a perfect walkout song. But even Jeremy Barnes walks out to like a really heavy, like kind of dubstep song from a buddy of mine named RL Grime, and I was like, hey, it's called Stinger. And he's like, dude, I like this. I'm like, you should walk out to it. So he walked out. I mean, I know that he came up in a big situation, but he had the song for the situation. It got me like, I was like, I love this song. People were like, I don't really know it yet, but if that was a closer song, it would work. So, it's such a big part of the show, man. I love it.
Will you go up to a guy and be like, I got a song for you? Like, give this a shot? Or yeah. That's great.
I'm making my pitch.
You have a full catalog. If you're going to be the closer, you have a full catalog where you're just going to roll it over every single time you're coming out.
I have I have a playlist on Spotify now that I just put together for walkout songs. And I've even started working on some hitter ones, but I understand that those are usually like personal for them. So it's not as easy to do. Like Lindor walks out to a song which literally saying his name. So Bad Bunny made a song about him. Like, come on, you're gonna come out to that. But yeah, I got it all planned out, and that's the reason I come out to Coheed, because it has such a like strong energy right out of the gate. And I did get the one close, man. I noticed it. So yeah, guys are coming to me for songs. I actually picked Taylor Rogers, who's closing. He's kind of platooning right now in Minnesota. He comes out to The Chain by Fleetwood, and that's just very his personality. So like they could put up like a Chains all in the speakers, and it's kind of low, but it's kind of like epic with the bass drum, and that's what he runs out to. So and I chose that for him too. So people don't know that, but I take credit.
Throw this one on the list too, because I threw this one out there, and people are, I think, tagging you because they knew you kind of had the personality for this kind of a thing. But clearly you have a song you like already. The Mandalorian song. You just get a quiet guy who just goes about his business, and you kind of get that bass going with the drum. I think it will be an absolute, hit. I could be a hitter song too, I suppose. It doesn't have to be a reliever song, but I feel like that's kind of like oh shit, the bad man's coming to the mound right now.
I think that's awesome, and you could put the helmet up on the street.
Yeah.
Like, but if they had a nickname, or they'd start to probably get that nickname because of the song eventually. But that would be that'd be really, really.
I'm telling you, cool. Man, it's got a pop culture vibe to it. That's good.
It might be a little too nerdy. I don't know, but well, like I'm all for it. Trust me, I'm a guy. If I ever get an opportunity to close in any, like, if I have to do it over a certain amount of time, I might rotate them. But I really like Cody. I like that Josh Eppert is a huge Mets fan and the drummer for the band too. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we could talk to you forever, but I don't want to take up too much more time. But I want to ask you. We've been calling them the replace Mets because with the amount of injuries you guys have sustained and just kept on rolling. I mean, I don't think there's been a single day you guys haven't been in first place really since the barrage of injuries. It feels like you're watching almost like a movie where it's like a Disney script, but everybody who steps up, it's a new name. You got number 76, number 83, number 92, and everyone's, getting walk-off hits or getting strikeouts in a big spot, whatever it may be. It's got to be a weird vibe in the clubhouse though, right? Where it's like, I don't even know some of these guys, the familiar faces are all gone, but yet it's a revolving door of guys who are all successful. So what's it like being one of the, you've been there the whole time watching these guys come up and down the whole way?
Yeah. It could be like that at times, especially if you get like three guys within a day of each other. Like we did that a couple times. It could be a little bit weird. It was a little bit odd when everyone was with us, like on a road trip, and they were like rehabbing through the road trip. So like we just had 40 people. So,
right.
Like, it's a lot of people to meet when you're, especially when you're new to the organization. When we got Billy and Mason coming over, and they weren't like in minors or spring training with us. Like it was awkward. Just at the beginning, and then, but like I said, after a win, like a guy comes up with a big hit, and then we make them get in and like talk to us and meet us all, and like dance to the mariachi music for a little bit. They open right up, they feel like they're part of it. I'm watching guys open up already now. Everyone's so like they've only been here for a couple weeks and they're just already like I'm part of this. Like this is I have a role here and I have a I want to contribute to us winning games and that's all they care about. Once they get there, like it's all gravy at that point. And so it really hasn't been weird at all. It's just now it's normal. Now just getting some walking in and be like, I don't know that person's face, but I'm sure they're going to hit a double tonight for the game winning. Like knowing that, or maybe a swinging butt, never actually get a hit, but just keep winning games over and over. Pat Mazika,
whatever.
Like,
Zeke.
If you knew that guy too, like it would make it so much better. He's like a hitting guru. That's like always like, okay, how do I get the barrel of the ball? And he's just hitting just absolute swinging bunts, like the worst barrel contact ever. But he's just like, he knows exactly how he's going to do it. And he's just like round, like it's hilarious. But it works out, right? It goes against what he's trying. It's just so funny. But it's a lot of fun. It's just part of what makes it fun to be here.
And you kind of said it too, like, being here, get the guys coming in and like, they feel like they belong, and the differences from, I know I think it was Jake Odorizzi, you had talked to him about, some of the stuff he had gone through in terms of the free agency stuff, but just from, now you're an insider, but as an outsider looking into the Mets, we got Big Uncle Stevie here now, and I mean, it's boosted the morale of the fan base. You think we're crazy now, you should have seen us the last like 10, 20 years. Is a guy like that, does it feel for free agents or just guys around the league, has the like perception of the Mets changed already, just having a guy like Steve Cohen here who's, Bobby Axe on TV, based after him, and all the different stories about all the stuff. Have you dealt with Steve Cohen at all that, all that good kind of stuff?
Yeah, I feel it. You're just a guy who, it's hilarious that he's had a couple tweets where he broke stuff before anyone else did, which that can be like for example, for like the training staff, like, oh, we really wanted to wait. But at the same time, I'm just glad he's involved enough to want to do that. Like that's something that's just like, there's a premium on that stuff, man. That means he cares. And that means he's like, really, really plugged in, because there's some owners that aren't plugged in. Like it's kind of just being run, right? They're just like, okay, run it. I'll be here and just like, let me know what you need and we'll talk through it. Right. Most owners are like that. Probably. They're not as hands-on. And I feel like he's much more hands-on, much more wanting to understand how it all works and what it takes to build winning teams. And that like energy is something that we're all feeding off of. I know he's taken a lot of time out of his own schedule, because he's a busy guy, to like talk to guys on a human level and just talk about what they're feeling and what they want and what they feel like they need to be successful. And I've never heard of that. So I know there's some other owners that have done things like that, but all those things are just like things you don't hear about mostly, or you assume just aren't going to happen. And then when they do, gives you a little bit like, if I have an issue or I need something, I'm comfortable enough that I could send him a text and just be like, hey, is there something we could do about this? We want to do something fun as a team. How do you feel about, being a part of that or helping us get done like that? Those kind of things. Those are things that we are comfortable. I think most players are comfortable doing with him. Whether or not it happens or not is to be seen. But
I feel like that's a great, I would not have thought that it was like a direct line like that to your owner, just to like kind of, that's interesting. I feel like that's a great sign.
Can we text Portnoy if we ever just want to just hang out and have a night out with him?
A little bit different around here. I don't think Dave's responded to any of my texts in like 10 years. Last nice. Question for you. I feel like there are a lot of negative Mets fans. I myself used to be. I'm a converted one now.
You're welcome.
I feel like you've, even just in this interview, I feel like you mentioned a couple times, like you're a normal guy, and if people kind of knew that about you or whatever, I feel like some of these fans would be different sometimes if they knew more about, the human side of it. So I'm wondering, was there a moment in the clubhouse or behind closed doors that you're comfortable sharing, at least, because I know some of these things stay there, where, you just had a moment with the team that, it was like, your best moment as just guys or friends, or it was a funny moment or memorable or something that's happened so far along this year that you think that stands out in your mind with the fellas?
Oh, there's so many. I think that honestly, the biggest one for me recently has been how much Joey Lucchesi has been embraced by the whole team. Is the whole Cherv thing going up is the best. And Joey's awesome, man. He really is. And when he came to us in spring, I think he was looking for kind of his friends group, trying to fit in a little bit. I know that he had really close friends in San Diego, like a couple guys that were his guys, and then he could always go to if anything, like if he was struggling or whatever, they were his guys. So we didn't have that right away, especially with COVID and stuff. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. We can't really hang out, and he wasn't comfortable like hanging out with anybody in anyone else's room yet. And so we've gone from that a little bit to, and he was struggling a little bit. So he was just like, someone talk to me, right? And we got to the point where we heard like because everyone's got their World Series story from when they're kids. Like you imagine you're gonna hit the game-winning homer, or you're gonna get the big strikeout. And he's like he has a recurring dream where the crowd is chanting Cherv when he gets 2 strikes, like kind of like and the Cherv, for anyone who doesn't know what the Cherv is, he throws his curveball like a circle changeup, so it's weird. He like holds it kind of like this and then throws it off his middle finger, and that's what his breaking ball is. So he calls it a Cherv. It's a curveball. That's what it is. But he calls it a Cherv because of his grip, and it's his unique thing. It's his thing. Like he's like, that's my thing. I'm going to keep calling it that. And so we've embraced it. And he wants to like the way that the King Felix in Seattle was with the King's Court. Every time the guy got 2 strikes, they'd start chanting K, 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 and he got the K all the time because the players like, I don't want to strike out, and Felix like, you're striking out, and then he just did it all the time. So he's like, I wanted like the Chervs, and then I throw a Cherv and strike the guy out, and then it'd be great. So every time he does that, so we basically co-opted it to mean anything positive. Like, okay, like that's so Cherv. Like,
I love it.
So I've started saying this is recent too, and so he gets gassed up, man. He's just a guy he's like Pete. You give Pete like lots of energy, he just like absorbs it and then unleashes it like in his game. Joey's the same way. So since we've started giving him this energy, he's translated it, taking it with him in the mound, taking it in the bullpen. He's been really focused, really jacked up, and really that's how he pitches with that kind of energy. And his results have gotten much better, and he's eating innings, and that's what he wants to do. That's what he told us he wanted to do.
I love it, man. That's a great month.
After the game, we won the second game against San Diego. And we were giving the belt. We have those belts now. I don't know if you saw, but Stro got his, and Frankie got his, and then before we like moved on to the dancing, McCann got up and goes, and most importantly, tomorrow's Cherv Day, and we all started going Cherv, 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 and then Joe was like Cherv, Cherv. So he was all fired up for his start the next day. So basically, we're just like passing it on, like, let's go get the sweep, Joey. He solo homer. That's it. Whatever.
He did his thing.
He did his thing. And so that's probably one of the coolest, like, I don't know, transitions I've seen happen. That's kind of the things that we do, though. We like get guys going. We give them the confidence to get it going, and it's really
a full season of that before hopefully October, and that's when
how October works too.
Yeah,
like that whole thing, like just like every day, just like get the energy, and you just like you got to be absolutely gassed by the end.
That comes up to us as Mets fans now. We have to, so like everyone listening, like I feel like we said Joey Fuego was like an unbelievable name. We loved him right off the bat because the name. Obviously, he struggled to begin, but like you said, it's kind of a tough transition. You don't have your friends. It's COVID times, weird stuff like that.
It's New York. There's a lot.
I want the Mets fans, all the We Gotta Believe, all the listeners. Let's get some Chervs going during the game. Like I didn't realize that we could chant that. 2-strike count for the Jays. He gets out.
I love it. I cannot tell you
everybody.
And we've started doing it. Homers, like he'll do it. They'll do it at second base, and then the whole dugout. And then if you've seen the bullpen, we all get out on the bench and start doing it too.
Yes,
the bullpen started doing it, and then so like if they, even when he's not pitching, if we had a homer, and they see the whole crowd doing the Cherv and like the bullpen, and he'll literally, I hope the camera gets his face because he'll be like. Like it'll be a dream come true. It'll be the coolest thing that ever happened to him. So
dude, I
want it to happen more than anything. Please during this series, please.
Dude, Barstool will do everything in his power to get the Cherv going. I love it, man. I think that is
I'm gonna tell him at the field that I got you guys going. He's gonna be like, is it gonna happen? He was worried about going to the bathroom in the first game of the series. He's like, hey, you think we're gonna hit a homer in the first? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, I just don't want to miss the church. So I'm with you, bro. You better go fast. What happened? And if you miss it, you'll be pissed.
Oh my God, that is unreal. Dude, thanks so much for the time. This has been great. I know you're also big on the vlog and streaming on Twitch. So that's something that I want to make sure all the fans go after. Where can they get the vlog and see you on the internet?
The vlog is YouTube channel Trevor May Baseball. Pretty easy to remember. That's where all the vlog baseball content is. I am Trevor May Baseball, or I am Trevor May as well. There's more gaming, like sitting in front of a camera talking about stuff video game related, because that's another big part of my life. But both have great stuff. There's like 500 videos on the gaming one now. So like if you're ever just thinking about binging, new vlog coming out here in the next week. I just got done recording it during the last series, so. Gonna do another one during the Cubs thing. I'm trying to get tons. It's a lot of work.
It's not easy. I tip my cat to you. Juggling both of them. It's internet content.
Again, you got to document it, man. How many times am I gonna get to do this kind of stuff? I think this is an interesting. I think you guys love it. I think the fans love it, so it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I was
Trevor May Baseball.
We'd love Trevor May on Twitch to talk more about the vlog and that side of things. We'll have you back to keep up with the whole series and the whole season, but also everything else you're doing, because it sounds like you're just a great dude that we'd love to get to know more. So thanks for coming on today, and stay Cherv, baby.
Stay Chervy, boys.
Stay
Chervy.
Chervy.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right, guys. You have a good one.
Take care, man. Boom.
Cool.